We are now talking to Oregon tight end recruit Terrance Ferguson. What's going on, Terrance?
I'm good. How are you?
We are good, my friend. How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
We're doing great. Everybody's healthy. No problems over here, so we're blessed right now.
So, Terrance, tell me a little bit about your recruitment with Oregon. What made you decide to go to Oregon out of all the different schools that have reached out to you and try to recruit you?
I'd say the biggest thing with Oregon was the coaching staff. Coach Cristobal and me built probably the best relationship out of all the coaches that I talked to. And he was really family orientated. He would talk to me more than just football. He talked to me about my family, problems that were going on, and about how his family was doing. So I feel like we built a relationship beyond football, and I think I did that with most of the coaches there, including Coach Bobby Williams, their tight ends coach. So I think it was the biggest comfort for me. So I say that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, Coach Christobal is very interesting because, again, the offense is very different than what we've seen Oregon do in the past with a lot of the running quarterbacks, a lot of the coaches they had, including Chip Kelly. What about that offense really got you involved in terms of going to Oregon?
I'd say a big thing with that is I feel like it's more of a pro-style offense now where they utilize the tight end. They'll pound the ball and then they'll hit some play action on you, and they kind of use the tight end. I see a lot of NFL teams using them now where they spread them out wide sometimes in the slot and then also inline blocking. So I think that was a big interest to me, being able to build my game with so much versatility that they use the tight end.
We are talking to Oregon tight end recruit Terrance Ferguson. Now, Terrance, when you look at the big picture and you look at college football to high school football, it's completely different. The speed of the game, the transition of spread offense. We've seen spread offense. We've seen NFL style of offense. When you look at Oregon, and Oregon's known for their offensive linemen and really their spread out offense and the way they use their tight ends to their wide receivers and their running backs to as wide receivers. When you look at the growth of the game and the transition of the game, of the college game, where do you fit in with Oregon?
I feel like I fit in very well, especially like you were saying, they use the tight end as a big receiver in the game. And I think that's a big part of my game, being able to move everywhere from slot to outside and be able to create mismatches. So I feel like that's a big part of my game and becoming more of a receiver. I think I'm more of a receiving tight end. But obviously I'll get my hand in the dirt and block some people as well.
You actually got recruited as well by the SEC, by Auburn, which is very interesting. But again, you passed it up to go to Oregon. Is there anything specific with what they told you versus what Oregon told you to sway it into the Pac-12? A very good team in the Pac-12, but sway it to the Pac-12 over the SEC, which is known to a lot of people's most dominant conference in college football.
I definitely agree with you. I'd say the SEC is very dominant, probably the best conference. I'd say the biggest thing that kind of Oregon was different, I think Coach Cristobal and the coaches up there are kind of bringing an SEC mentality up to the Pac-12. The way he's recruiting right now, we have one of the top recruiting classes in the nation. Last year's recruiting class was crazy good as well. And he's bringing hard-nosed football to the Pac-12, I believe. So I think they're kind of bringing an SEC mentality, I'd say, to the Pac-12.
Terrance, you're a big guy, and you look at the tight end position, you need to be big, especially if you want to move from college football to the NFL. And you're 6'5", 230 pounds. You're the exact size that you want to be moving forward. Do you see yourself getting bigger, playing college ball? I don't know if you've ever tested your speed. I don't know what you run the 40 in, but the strength and conditioning of the game from going from college football to the NFL is completely different. The speed of the game. When you look at your game and the way you play the game, do you see yourself as an NFL-style player?
I really do. I see myself as a guy who can move around. I think that's where the tight end position is really going towards now. I see a lot of tight ends going from inline slot, playing some H-back even to split out. And I think if you watch my film, I kind of did all of that, and I was very blessed to be 6'6", 230, and being able to move still. I think just getting in a college program, I'll get faster and stronger and just become a better player, honestly.
Can you see at some point, either in college football or in the NFL, the tight end position surpassing the wide receiver position in terms of overall importance, and why?
I definitely say so. I think even now you can kind of see the tight end become more important to offenses, and good teams are wanting to get a hold of good tight ends because they have to do pretty much anything on the field. They have to block, and they have to run routes. They have to know the whole offense pretty much. And so I'd say right now they're looking for guys who create mismatches everywhere because you take a 6'6" guy who's pretty fast and put him outside. They can't put a linebacker on him because he's too slow, or you can't put a corner on him because he's too small, too weak. I think the tight end is really becoming more of a threat, honestly, on the offense, catching the ball and just being able to do everything.
We are talking to Oregon tight end recruit Terrance Ferguson. Now, Terrance, when I look at guys like Speedy Petey, and he needs another job besides being a producer because he makes a ton of mistakes. I mean, look at this guy right over here. Look at this guy right over here. He makes a ton of mistakes, and we're trying to find him an extra job. And we've talked to a bunch of recruits, and I want you to reach out to your coach. I know there's a duck that runs around throughout the stadium, a mascot, and I think Speedy would be a great duck. Man, don't you think it? Look at him. Look at him. I mean, seriously, look at this guy right over here. Him running around with one of those duck hats and helmets, whatever the heck it is. What are they? Speedy, you watch the games.
It's the duck head with a big bill. This is their mascot.
So you don't think you would be a good duck? Come on, Terrance. You don't think you look like a big duck?
No, I think he'd be a great duck.
I think he'd be a great duck, too.
I can make the duck noises.
Okay, make a quack sound. You see this? You see what I deal with? See what I deal with, Terrance?
It also was my alarm tone for a while too, and
you have an alarm tone of a duck.
I used to. I don't anymore. I said I used to.
Oh my!
Just because
God.
it was the best sound effect on the iTunes.
There is something wrong with you, man. There really is. As you guys know, we are talking to Oregon tight end recruit Terrance Ferguson and the future duck and mascot for the Oregon Ducks, Mr. Speedy Petey. Anyways, when I look at the game and the transition of some of these young players and the development of some of these players in college, and we don't know if there's going to be a college football season, so that's going to affect possibly the draft next year and where some of these players could be drafted. When you look at your game, what is the part of your game that stands out from all the other tight ends? Is it your speed? Is it your hands? What stands out, that people need to watch, scouts need to watch and recruit you if I was an NFL scout, what should I look for in a player like you?
I'd say a big thing with me is probably making tough catches in traffic and some pretty crazy catches in my catch radius. I feel like there's not many balls that are thrown that aren't catchable for me. I feel like, I didn't have many balls that were thrown like uncatchable. I had a bunch of balls on the ground that I'm diving to pick up. I thought my catch radius is pretty big, and then I'd say my versatility, being able to move from outside, inside, and being able to create mismatches just off my size and speed.
Is there any specific spot, because the tight end position is so versatile, like you mentioned, is there any specific spot on the field that you like running routes from more, and why?
So I play at my high school. We have another kid, Eric Olson, who's going to CU next year. And so he kind of puts his hand in the dirt and is more of the traditional tight end. And I played more like a receiver, like all the time. And so I'd probably say now I like running routes from the slot more because you can't double team me. My whole junior year, I got double teamed sitting on the outside. So we had to move me around a little bit to change up things.
Terrance, was there any other position you played in high school besides tight end, and why, if you did, why did you choose the position at tight end to move forward as a college football player?
I didn't really get played any other position in high school because our coach kind of stuck us to platooning, which is like one side of the ball only right now. But this year I'll play D end as well. So. But I'd say the big thing is that's just what I played was tight end.
You're entering a conference now in the Pac-12 that is always known for its parity. They have these crazy, especially with football, Pac-12 after dark games. What is the mentality going into those kinds of things for you now as a player, where there's a lot of road teams? Was that a big reason you picked that conference as a whole because of the competitiveness?
I'd say I grew up watching Pac-12 football, so I think it was kind of a little bit of a theme, my recruitment. But I'm excited to get out there and play whoever, really.
We are talking to Oregon tight end recruit Terrance Ferguson. Now, Terrance, we like to have some fun with some of the people that we have on the show. And I ask these silly questions to some of these guys, and some of them find it to be funny. Some of the people think I'm nuts. But I want to know your honest opinion. When you were in high school, in the locker room, I'm sure you had a lot of crazy people that you've played with. Were you a standout guy? Were you the funny guy? Were you the comedian? Were you the serious guy? What type of person were you in the locker room? What type of person are you going to be in a locker room with the Oregon Ducks?
It depends on the day. When we're just practicing and after practice or before practice, I'm quite the jokester and give people a hard time. But game day, I feel like I'm pretty serious. I'm sit down. I'm kind of locked in. But when it's just practice, I'm pretty fun to be around. So I like to joke around a lot.
I will say this. I see your picture in the background. Is that you? Is that you in the background?
No, that's my uncle.
That's your uncle? He kind of looks like you. You're just a little bit of a ginger over there. Maybe he slicks it. Maybe if you slick your hair back a little bit more, I mean, you look a little bit like him.
Yeah, that's funny, yeah.
Terrance, what is your favorite game you ever played in, and what is the craziest game you ever played in?
My favorite game I probably played in is our rival game. We play a Rapo, so it's like a in-town rival, a little cross-town rival. It was my sophomore year, his first year of varsity, and everybody goes to that game, like the whole city. And so the stands were packed out. Everybody's like, it's a big rivalry. So that's probably my favorite game. We ended up winning that game to take home like the trophy, the rivalry trophy. So that's pretty cool. I'd say the craziest game I probably played in was our playoff game last year against Dakota Ridge. It went back and forth. We were down, I want to say 20 at half. They came back and took the lead with like 4 minutes left. We ended up losing the game, but with like 4 minutes left, I went and made a crazy one-handed catch to go up in the playoffs. So that was probably the craziest game because it went back and forth, and it came down to the last second touchdown.